Here's a quick video to show a request I'm submitting so that JSFiddle fiddles can be reused from other fiddles. Really quickly, I've got just a real simple fiddle here with a little bit of jQuery. It's got a little bit of CSS, some HTML, and some JavaScript that just basically opens and closes this little area. But I've got plenty more examples where I'm doing much more complicated stuff. So if I was to do everything I wanted to do in one fiddle, the lines of code would be, thousands of lines of JavaScript, etc. So what I've done is I've written this fiddle, and notice up here I've got the unique identifier, and I'm at version 2, and then I started another fiddle. And so what I'm hoping to do is do in the CSS area an import URL with this URL, because if I go to the Fiddle API, there's this show CSS option, and when I do that, you can see that here comes the CSS of the other fiddle. But the problem is when I'm on this one fiddle and I do this, I've got my console opened up, and there's a message here: resource interpreted as style sheet but transferred with MIME type text HTML. At the same time, I'm using a fiddle over here. You can't really see it, but I'm doing the same thing with show.js. So here's the JavaScript of the other fiddle, and I wanted to put this as an external resource so that the other JavaScript from the other fiddle could be an external resource. And I think when there's an error in doing that, I get this error down here which says resource interpreted as script but transferred with MIME type text HTML, and here's the URL. So basically what I'd like for a small change in JSFiddle would be that the show JSS, that the server sets the MIME type to text script, and for show CSS, the server sets the MIME type as text CSS. Another thing going further is that if you notice here, I'm trying to do a post to get the HTML of the other fiddle. But when that happens, there's a whole other thing, and that is I get basically a cross-domain resource sharing error. If I run this again and go to the console, I'm going to go ahead and take out this fail so you just see what happens. So we get this XML HTTP request cannot load this fiddle because there's no access control origin header. So this is something I know it's there's a way in the web server. I think it's a cross object resource. Enable cross origin resource sharing. Just look up this, and it talks about how to handle it. Okay, so what I've actually done to solve this problem is here I've got a pretty advanced fiddle with lots of stuff in it. And notice here I still have this import up here, but I wrote my own script on my own server called getFiddleCSS, and it allows you to pass in the fiddler in the fiddle, but I'm actually pulling in multiple CSSs at once. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 other fiddles that I'm actually embedding into this one fiddle, because I wrote a server that basically does the equivalent of, reads this all these fiddles and spits them out, but it sets the MIME type. I guess if I went in here and said page info, let's see here. Well, anyway, this is a JavaScript, and it returns as JavaScript, so my fiddles can use it. Okay.